so happy to see you guys tonight. I am so excited. I hope you are excited too. Can you see me? Yay! Hi everybody. Welcome to session 4. I love kind of reading your comments for a few minutes. Londa is asking a great question. Where can she find the home activation kit or the home blessing kit activation? It hasn't happened yet. I have been so busy the last 2 weeks. So I am recording it probably, I don't want to promise you Monday because Monday is in bulk and we have live ceremony and we've got the Tucson show starting and stuff. But I promise it will come to you before the end of next week, before the end of the day on Friday for the home blessing kit activation. Thank you for your patience. And I'm glad you asked tonight so I can tell you. And no, but it's good. I'm glad you asked. And that way you guys, if somebody else asks, because they will, and I'm excited to do it for you. I'm activating my own kit. I haven't even put my own kit out yet because I haven't activated it. So I'm actually going to be activating my personal kit with you guys. So anyway, and yay Monday. I will tell you this. Let's pace ourselves. I genuinely am concerned. You guys are going to be like, really again? I'm live with you today, and then I'm live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week. So pace yourselves. It's a lot of me for a lot of you. Hopefully you're gonna love it because some of it's exclusive for you guys, like the backstage tour of all of my crystals here at the house is just for you guys next week, so I'm really excited about that. And then I'm interviewing some people you know, Momo and George, who you may have met before because I've interviewed him on camera before. Actually, I think everybody I'm interviewing you've met before if you've been with me for the last 8 years. If you're relatively new, these are going to be new folks to you. You're going to love them. Please make sure I know you're in programs, but you still need to RSVP for the Gem and Mineral show on the event page, and Alexis will pop the link up for you. The reason this is important is we're going to be doing giveaways on the event page, contest. I'm kind of planning a contest that I want to do. You should see the prizes I have. Holy shit. I mean, you think you've seen giveaways, you think you've seen stuff, and the other thing I'm going to tell you is this. I've never done a spring equinox kit like I'm doing this year. It's my favorite, because I've done spring equinox kits now for 9 years. This is my favorite we've ever done, and I am trying to list as many of them as I can on Monday on InBulk. So please make sure that you check things on Monday if you want the spring equinox kit. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but holy shit. I'll tell you the theme of the kit is Alice in Wonderland, because we're going down the rabbit hole. So when I tell you to get really excited, there's so much fun happening next week. Like, it's hard to keep me in my seat. No, that's the spring. So InBulk is the holiday on Monday. InBulk is the midway point between winter and spring. The kit launches Monday for spring equinox, and that is March 21st. So I just want you to, in case you guys want it, you may want to check, make yourself a little note or a reminder, because some of you don't check online very often, and that's totally cool. I'm not online every minute either, so I don't want you to miss things. And at the very least, come in and look at it, because we've spent a month designing it, and I think it's kind of the coolest thing we've ever done at Sage Goddess. I don't want to overestimate it for you, but it's pretty cool. You told your boss you can't travel next week? I love Tucson so much, and I normally I would have already been there. Last year I was already in Tucson right now. Year before that I was already in Tucson. Year before that I've been going to Tucson for almost a decade. So it's really weird to be home right now, but my kids are really happy that I'm home, and so we're going to do it from here. Yeah, it's a grid with ruby, sapphire, and emerald. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about it now and take away from class time, but just some things you need to know. Make sure you've RSVP'd to the Tucson show. Alexis pinned the link up at the top of the feed so you can find it. Make sure you at least look on sagegoddess.com on Monday, because even if you don't buy the kit, I want you to see it. We worked really hard on it. And I think it's just kind of the coolest thing we've done. If you like rabbits and Alice in Wonderland and the Mad Hatter, you're gonna really enjoy it. I know. And then we imported all these mushroom absolutes, so we made a magic mushroom perfume for you for the kit. Crazy town stuff. So anyway, stay tuned for all of that. More to come. Were you obsessed when you were a kid and you collected it, Jacqueline? Me too. I always, you know, Zoe's favorite movie is Alice in Wonderland. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you, right? With her Pisces sun and her Scorpio moon, she loves the idea of like falling down the rabbit hole and like everything looks different. So anyway, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Yeah, even Alexis, don't you think it's the cutest thing ever? That selenite plate with the with the rabbit. Is that the coolest thing you've ever seen? Anyway, on we go. But there's some fun stuff to talk about. Gold perfume, I have to tell you, is pretty much my favorite thing ever. And we're really trying to make another bottle of it. I can't make any promises. We are trying to get Mushroom Absolute out of France to make one more bottle of it. I just don't know. That was the missing ingredient that we couldn't. So that particular mushroom we're having trouble getting, but we're trying. Alexis, you're so cute. That's right. Okay. What is tonight about? Do you feel the energy tonight? I'm really excited for tonight. Tonight, we are crafting your family crest, your coat of arms. My team made one for me. This is so super beautiful. I can't do this. I'm not an artist. That's not going to happen. So mine is going to be very different. But they made this to show you kind of one vision of what you can do, right? That represents my Atlantean roots, my Lemurian roots, and my Minoan roots, which I would say are the three primary, civilizations, if you will, that really, I feel, are the core and the essence of who I am when I boil it all down, right? Yeah. East Coast is always first before West Coast. Yeah. Really? Did you see Maureen O'Callahan? That's a big compliment from you, Maureen. She said, I don't really do perfume, and I know that. And she said gold has captured her. When you get the non-perfume people to enjoy a perfume, that's orgasmic. That is for a perfumer. It's like, because people who love perfume love perfume. I love perfume. I like to smell it on people. It turns me on. I'm very scent activated, but some people just honestly aren't into it, could give two shits. So when they like a perfume, it's like, wait, you like that? That's a huge compliment, right? Yeah, so anyway, I totally didn't make this. If I were to make this, it wouldn't look like this. So I take zero credit. This is nowhere near what I can do. This is why I'm so blessed to have a team of artists. So mine, here's what I want you to know about mine. How do you find out what your roots are? So Deanna, were you in session 1? You got to go back to session 1 from this month, where we talked about all of the origin civilizations. And so what I would say is, if you didn't do session 1, still stay here tonight, because it's okay. I still want you to join. I'm going to be teaching you for the first hour new stuff about alchemy, so I still want you to be here for class. But I would go back to session 1, because that's going to teach you a little bit more about your roots, and especially the primordial civilizations that we came through, whether it's, and the star systems too. So we looked at both of those. We looked at which star system you came from, what kind of star seed are you, and then we looked at Atlantis and Lemuria and kind of whether you came through one or both or the other. So anyway, that's the session where you really are discovering your star roots, your physical roots. And I want to underscore this one more time tonight. Your physical roots in this lifetime, your parents, okay? I want to say this delicately, because I'm not trying to suggest that your parents don't matter when I say this. I'm really not. But here's an image that I drew for you tonight to show you what I mean, okay? I'm I'm a pen to paper kind of girl. I could make you a nice PowerPoint presentation. I don't like to do that, so that's why I don't do it. This is you right now. In this lifetime, whatever age you are, wherever you live, this is where you are today. You are here. See that? You are here. And then, and this is your current life. And then this is the totality of our cosmos, okay? And one of the reasons, well, oh no, I was going to tell you, no, don't give me credit for this one either. Zoe did this. Zoe did this for me. The only thing I did was write Athena's cosmic crest. Zoe painted that whole thing. She looked at mine and she goes, yours is very plain. And I said, yes, it is, Heidi. And she goes, can I help you? And I was like, please help me. So anyway, this is all Zoe's artistry. Again, give me no credit. I will show you what I will do. My art is with words and stones. That's how I create art. I have so much to tell you tonight. I'm trying to pack it all in, and I don't know how we're going to do it. Anyway, she helped me. She saved me. And then I went through I have a little drawer of broken crystals. Little tips that break off. Do you have a little drawer like that? You should. Broken crystals, little tidbits, little bebops and doodads. Do you have a doodad drawer? They come in quite handy. So these are little broken crystals or little tiny kibbles and bits. And I save these little things because, specifically for crafts like this. So I'm going to use some E6 million and some tweezers, and I'm going to add some crystals to mine, and I'm going to frame it, but not with glass. I want mine to be kind of a mixed media kind of situation, right? Anyway, yeah, keep your broken crystals, keep your little chips, your kibbles and bits, because I'm telling you, for crafting on wands and things like that, you'll be so glad you have them. For gridding is great too. I call them kibbles and bits. I know that's an animal food, but whatever, it makes me laugh. You can't say kibbles and bits and be in a bad mood. Try it. Kibbles and bits. You can't do it. Was there a home protection kit? Yes, there was a home protection set. I don't know if we have any left. That would be an Alexis question. Oh, I like that. You give them back to the earth. I like that too. Okay, here's where I was going with what I was trying to tell you before, okay? You're here, and this includes your parents, your children, your job that you have, where you live, the city you live in, the country that you live in. This is you right here. And then this is all of your past lives, right? You know, coming through, maybe it was Atlantis, it was for me, or Lemuria, and then other past lives that you've had, right? Whatever countries or locations. I know I came through Egypt, Mesopotamia. I've had a lot of past life regression work done, and a lot of ayahuasca, which tells you all about your past lives. And so these are all of your other lifetimes in your soul's. So this circle right here is your soul's full experience, okay? Your soul's full expression. Your lifetime right here is just one little nibble on that. It's not a lot, okay? It's not a lot. So, and I will tell you, this brings me a lot of peace. When I started thinking that my problems are so big and I'm so overwhelmed and what am I going to do? And, you know, because that happens when you start focusing on yourself a lot and you start thinking about your own problems, you know how you get really overwhelmed. What makes me feel better is to remember how absolutely tiny I am. And how tiny this life is and how tiny my problems are, because my problems are like so micro, right, compared to like the totality of things. And then my entire existence sits within the broader cosmos, and that's what I'm going to teach you tonight, okay? And then, so this is what we call the Akashic field. You are in here, and all of your past lives are in here, all of your original origin narratives, right, everywhere you've been born and died. And then our entire cosmos sits inside of the multiverse, right? So then there's these other outer realms of experience and other civilizations and other galaxies, right? So you are, thank you for saying that, Nitu, because it's honestly, it's a little, shitty little picture. But the point is important, which is you are one pinprick in this massive expanse of time and space and energy and light and experience and all of it, right? And so there have been so many people this month who've said, well, I don't know, I don't want to think about my parents. I was adopted. What if I don't know my parents? And I really want to, for the last time this year, I really want to unhinge you from the idea that it really matters, who your parents are or what kind of experience you had with your parents. It's not that it doesn't matter, but in the grand picture of things, your parents are two vehicles who said yes to a contract. They were like, yeah, I'll bring her through. They looked at each other's, and their spirits looked at each other and was like, you want to do it? Okay, you'll do it. Okay, so yeah, we'll bring her through, we'll take, care of her until she's on her own feet and off she goes, right? So I actually think the most important part of your crest, and the way I'm dividing mine up, I'm going to make the top 2 boxes about my human life. Is that how I'm doing it? Yeah, the top 2 boxes are about my human life, and the bottom 2 boxes are about my spirit life, is the way I'm going to do it. And I'm right now on this, I'm giving it 50-50 weight. I'm basically saying that my human experience is as important as my spirit experience. In my personal opinion, my human experience is about worth maybe 10% of this, but I'm trying to honor where, my physical roots and my spiritual roots and give them kind of equal weight, but I don't think they get equal weight, right? So I hope I'm making sense. For those of you who've said, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to think about my parents, or I don't want to look at my parents, or I don't know who my parents are, and all of that, I have a lot of compassion for that. But at the same time, this exercise really isn't about your birth parents. It's really about looking at your roots and where you come from. Does that make sense? And I think once I explain to you tonight 0-point field or 0-point theory more broadly, I think you'll really get it. I really do. You do get it? Okay, good. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I know it wasn't a great graphic, and we're talking about some pretty complicated things. And like Arlene says, my dad keeps breaking my heart over and over again. And so one of the shifts that you can make this year is learning how to have compassion, right? Start to see your dad, I know it sounds crazy, start to see your dad not necessarily or only just as your dad, but as a human who agreed to bring you through. And a lot of the humans that agreed to bring us through did not have all the skills, did not have all of the structures, did not have all of the wisdom, the training, the experience to do that well. And so part of the process, for me at least, of spiritual development and cultivating that is to be able to look at those 2 humans with this lens of radical compassion. Because and for a long time I was one of those people who bought into, I would just talk over and over again about what I didn't get or I didn't have or whatever. And I had a pretty blessed childhood. I really did. My parents are pretty great. They still made mistakes. Everybody's parents make mistakes. I make mistakes with my kids. I'm sure they're going to have their own, it's probably weird having me as mom, right? Like, who knows? I don't even know. But I know I'm doing the best I can. So I think part of it is learning to see them not so much as mom and dad, but as these 2 archetypes, right, in your life. And is there a way to have some compassion for them and for their experience? Who do the Mayans go back to? Kaz, what I'd want you to do actually is ask your spirit guides, because there are people who say the Mayans are Lemurian, and I'm inclined to believe that. If you look at where Lemuria was, Kaz, and you think about it logistically, most of the Lemurians fled to local places, and most of the Atlanteans fled to local places. right? So anything on the western seaboard of the US probably fled down into Central and South America, so probably Lemurian. And anything eastern seaboard of the US, which is where Atlantis was, fled to Asia and to Africa, right? So I think what I would recommend that you do is look more at a map first, logistically, to see, because you can kind of get a sense if you pull up an old map of Lemurian Atlantis, and you can Google that and find 100 of those, you can actually see where they were spatially and start to make some assessments. And then I would either do a meditation, an elder council, go back and do an old elder council, and ask your spirit guides, for sure, because it's a great question. But that's my best guess. I think they fled to what was reachable. And it was much easier to get, for the Lemurians to get to Central and South America than it was to get to Africa. Just regionally, right? Yeah. So most of Europe is Atlantean. And most people, like if you talk to people in Avalon, Glastonbury, a lot of them claim Atlantean roots, right? So it starts to make sense. So yeah, most of the Lemurians went to the west coast of the U.S. and then down, and you can follow the whole line from Mexico down all the way to Brazil, right? Argentina's right there, and of course the Aztecs and the Mayans were all the way through Mexico, and then down onto the Yucatan Peninsula. So that's what I recommend. What I give you is my best guess. I recommend, again, looking at one of those early maps that shows you Lemurian Atlantis, and then see if you were fleeing those continents, where would you go? The Celts, you have to remember, were on the, you're talking about the UK, you're talking about Britain and Ireland, and so, of course, that's going to be, at least from my perspective, that's going to be Atlantean. Based regionally, just based on the map. But, again, you may go into a meditation, or you may commune with your spirit guides, and they're like, nope, the Celts were Lemurian, and you're like, okay. And it may be that you had a different path to get there. So maybe you have Celtic lineage, but maybe you started in Lemuria. And so how did your spirit get from Mu to wherever you were, wherever your Celtic roots led you, right? And that's your origin story, right? Yeah. So, because what I don't want to do is suggest that, like, I know who everybody was and where they went and everything that happened. I really don't. I'm still putting my own my own ideas together about it. I have theories, but the real challenge is we don't know. It's going to come down to being your best guess. Well, the Tua de Danann is a whole other, and I've taught you about that. What month was that in Soulship that we did the Tua de Danann? Was it, I'm not good at, looking back to previous months. But do you remember the Tua de Danann from last year? We studied Danu. I want to say it was January we did the Tua de Danann. The Tua de Danann are different, because the Tua de Danann is the origin story of the Celtic civilization. But I think the Tua de Danann have Atlantean roots. But that's just my own 2 seconds, my own best guess. Can you be from both? I think you can be from both. I really do. It was January of last year. Yeah, so if you're curious about the Tua de Danann, we did a whole, you can always go back and just get January 2020 content, when I taught you about Danu and the Tua de Danann, and we went through the whole thing, right? It's hard to believe that was a year ago. Can you believe that was a year ago? I feel like we were on a different planet. I think the Tua de Danann still had an origin story, right? They're not an origin. They are an origin civilization, you could say. Some people think of Danu as being the primordial mother goddess of all mother goddesses, right? That she birthed all mother goddesses. But everybody claims their mother goddess birthed all mother goddesses, right? In the Indian tradition, in the Hindu tradition, we have the Mahadevi, which is Shakti, right? And the Hindus would claim, no, Tua de Danann is not the Mahadevi. Shakti, who we studied last night, is the Mahadevi. So are you going to tell a Hindu person, no, my Mahadevi is the real Mahadevi, and your Mahadevi is the fake Mahadevi? And this is how we end up in, world wars. because we think we're the first, or they think they're the first, or whatever, right? You know, my theory about how all this shook down is in the first section of Crystal Lore. Have you guys read the book? I can go and get it and read it to you, but a lot of you have the book. But when I wrote that chapter in that book 2 years ago, it was really my best effort to give you what I think happened. Really what I think happened. And I think that this planet was colonized with the most beautiful intentions before any mortal figures arrived here. And I think it got convoluted in the quest for gold. I really do. I think it started out with a much more pure, spiritual, unconditional love kind of intention, and I think it devolved into how do we create a race of slaves to bring gold out of the earth to save us, you know? So anyway, that's a long story. Yeah, my crystal history book is called Crystal Lore, Legends, and Myths. I don't have any copies at Sage Goddess, unfortunately, because we're just out of stock, and we've been moving, and we're trying to do all the things, so, but you can always find my books on Amazon. Yeah, I think greed took over and supplanted love. And I think that's happened in so many cases. I mean, we see it happening on our planet right now, right? Greed supplants love. And then there's some of us who just feel like we can still hold that vibration of love and overcome it. Can we? I don't know. But I like to believe that we can, right? Well, but you know what's interesting? Brady says, I abhor greed and money. I actually love money. I mean, and I don't say that in a greedy way, but I think money is very important because money allows us, like, because of money, I was able to change somebody's life this year. You know, I was telling you about the woman, I paid her tuition for her nursing program this year through Sage Goddess, right? And I got to meet her this week on a Zoom call. I got to join the board of directors of the college and meet my student in person or, you know, by Zoom. And we were both crying. And that wouldn't have been able to, you know, I couldn't have done that without money. It took money to pay her tuition, right? So I love money. I like energy, but I don't like greed. I think that we're here to create abundance for not just ourselves, but for other people. And I think that's the secret to it all. People who give a lot get a lot. Have you noticed it? And we learn that through narratives as children, right? Like Scrooge and all those things we learn. Like if you're miserly and you pinch your pennies, then you never get anywhere. You know, if you're afraid of money or you reject money, I think you develop a dysfunctional relationship to it. So I would encourage you to embrace money, but to embrace the collective good, right? I don't want to receive a lot if I'm not able to give a lot. I wouldn't even enjoy it. My greatest joy in life is being able to give things to people, gifts and opportunities and wisdom and community, and I really live to give. And so, but it takes money to do that. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just want to share that with you because it's, yeah, so Brady, I'm with you on that. I don't like the negative things that come with money. I don't like miserly people. I don't like cheap people. You know, like if I eat out at a restaurant, which I can't even remember the last time I did that. I literally don't remember the last time. Oh, it was my anniversary this year. We did go out to a meal, but it wasn't normal. Like we were wearing face masks. But before that, I don't remember the last time I went out to a meal. But when I go out to eat, I tip a lot, like ridiculous amounts of money to people who serve me food. Because I used to be one of those people, and I used to get stiffed. And I remember feeling like shit. So, and I remember if anybody ever gave me 30% on my ticket, it was like I'd won the damn lottery. So that's what I do. And I think you can change it. You can turn it around. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I want to share with you about that. Now, if I get bad service, you're not getting 30%. But you know what? I even give 15% on bad service. I do. Because I just think that person still worked. And they deserve to get what I think is the minimum, which is 15% on a ticket, right? That's right. Feels really good, doesn't it? Or picking up the bill, you know, asking the server, hey, is there anybody here who you think would enjoy having their lunch paid for and letting the server choose, like, actually, that table over there, I know them, and it's hard for them. She's a single mom or whatever, and picking up the bill feels really good, right? Okay, so tonight I'm going to be teaching you about zero-point theory. But this was an interesting conversation, wasn't it? I waited tables for years. But I liked waiting tables. I really did. But I was a waitress for a long time. At restaurants you would recognize. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. It was good training for life, being a server, because you learn how to deal with difficult people and, not to take it personally. And then we're going to craft, and then I'm going to be concluded for tonight and for the month. Can you believe this is our last class for January? Yeah, it's good. You got to pay it forward. That's what it's all about. So tonight we're going to peek behind the curtain of magic. I want to do that. Doesn't that sound like fun? We're going to look behind the curtain of magic. And we're going to try to answer an eternal question tonight, which is, who am I and where did I come from? And once we start to answer that question, where did I come from? Because where is one question. The other questions of, so why did I come here and how did I get here? Those questions become easier to answer once you understand where you came from. And again, this is not something, there's no 23andMe for Lemuria. Although I will tell you, when my mom did hers, it was really crazy because I think I told you this, but it showed that in her DNA, there's a mutation at, I want to say it's 13,000 years or 15,000 years ago. There's a radical mutation in her DNA. And when I did research on it, because I was like, what is that? She's like, I don't know. Just says there's a mutation, right? When I did research on it, it said that would have been some kind of cataclysmic event. And I was like, oh, you mean like a civilization flooding and being submerged and completely destroyed? So I think her genetic mutation at the 13K or 15K line is the destruction of a civilization. But, was it Lemuria? Was it Atlantis? Who knows, right? Who cares, really? I think it comes up down to your intuition and what makes sense for you. Are there markers in the birth charts that point to star origin? Not that I'm aware of. And I've never heard an astrologer say as much. Not that I'm aware of. It's a great question, though. I know, right? Yeah, there's no. You have greater than 18% Neanderthal DNA. It's interesting because my dad has a North African connection, and I think that makes a lot of sense because if you read the book Black Athena, it really suggests that we all came from Africa, but it definitely shows my dad's line coming from either Nigeria or in that North African kind of region. So it's fascinating, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's where we're kind of headed for tonight. So, buckle up. I got some teaching to do. So we're going to be intellectual for a few minutes, but if you are going to work with stones tonight, I just wanted to show you that's the glue I'm using. I'm using some tweezers to apply these. So if you want to put crystals on your, if you have little chipstones and things you want to use, you can do that. If you just want to draw, and I'm going to be filling mine in with words. So what I've decided to do for mine tonight, just again to inspire you and get you ready, and then while I'm teaching, you can be thinking about it or gathering stuff. Words are my art, and what I decided to do is channel words to describe these 4 parts of my lineage. So I'm going to come up with, 8 or 10 words to describe my matrilineal, my mother line, my patrilineal, my father line. Knowing that I don't really know who my grandfather was on my mom's side. We have stories and stuff, but we don't really know anything about him, and he died before we could really find out much about him. So there's a quarter of my lineage that's really like a big question mark, and there's a lot of emptiness in my heart around that because I'm never gonna know. You know what I mean? And some of you who don't know who your parents were or grandparents were, not knowing who my grandfather was or anything about him. I really don't know anything about him, and my mom really doesn't know much about him. Is really difficult, especially when they die before you get a chance to find out. So, but that leaves me some space, intuitively to try and fill in some of those gaps. And I have feelings about what I think, and I have the stories that everybody's told all my life. So I try to work with that. It's kind of the best I can do because I don't have anything else. Yeah, so I like E6000 amber for like gluing stuff to stuff. Gluing stones to wood or gluing stones to metal. I do like a nice hot glue gun. I really enjoy hot gluing stuff to things. It's kind of a weird fetish, but when I'm doing something like this, I don't want to damage the paper, so I prefer not to use heat. So I'm going to be using just a basic glue. And what I do is I pour my glue out just a little bit onto the plate, and then I take my stone in my tweezers, gently, and I dip it in the glue, and then I attach it. And that way is that helpful? That way I'm not heating the paper, because I don't know if you've ever tried this, but just learn from my mistakes. When you put a hot glue gun on a piece of paper, it burns a hole in it, and it's shitty because it can kind of ruin your whole situation. Yeah, Gorilla Glue is good too. If you get the one that dries clear, I fucked up and bought the Gorilla Glue that doesn't, and it's ugly. But there is a Gorilla Glue that dries clear too. Yeah, I think we should do a brief meditation. The primary meditation you'll want to do if you want a full meditation for tonight's exercise is the bonus one that I gave you a couple of days ago, the Prima Materia meditation. That's a full 20-minute, let's soften into the elements, let's see, and feel into and kind of sense and discern which element is kind of calling to you, and that will help you to get some hits too. But I think we should probably just do a real quick, easy something tonight to drop in a little bit too. Oh, isn't that interesting? Emalea. Well, your name is beautiful, by the way. She was named after a grandmother she never met. Yeah, I never met my dad's mom. All I know is I looked just like her, and she had my picture on her bedside table until she died. And it's a heartbreak. And then to not know who my grandfather was on my mom's side, like there's just a lot of empty space in my lineage. So for those of you who have that too, I just want you to know I have a lot of compassionate understanding and empathy for you, because there's a lot of, it's Swiss cheese for me too, right? Yeah. And the stories I was told are really interesting, but I mean, they're stories. So who knows, right? Yeah. I know she loved me, and I know she was proud of me, but she's been gone now for 25 years, so I wish she was here to meet her great-grandchildren and to know me. I hope she's proud. She did come to me in ayahuasca last year. I think I told you that, or 2 years ago. No, 2019, holy shit. She did. She came to me for an hour, and it was the best experience of my entire journey life, that whole hour with her. To the point where the shaman was there, and he was starting to say something to me, and I'm like, no, my grandmother's here. Like, just let me, I never got to meet her, please let me have this time. And I did. I took the whole hour with her. I think she knows me too. I love it. So anyway, I did meet her just a long time after she left this earth, but it was so real, you guys. It was as real as if she was standing in this room, and I will always be grateful for it. Okay, so let's back up the truck. Okay, I want to, part of what I try to do in Soul Shift, and I hope you can see this, I try to not just teach you the what of things, right? Like, if I was just teaching you the what of things tonight, we would talk about lineage and legacy and epigenetics, and, it would be really boring. I try to teach you the why of things. Why are we doing this? Why are we even looking at your family tree? Who cares, right? Like, you're here now. Why not just focus on the here now? Tonight I want to explain to you why, right? Oh, I see you, Cheryl. I want to explain to you why we're doing this. And so I'm going to take you back to really the origin story of alchemy tonight, just for the next half hour or so, just to give you this wisdom and this education. So if you want to take notes, you can. My team is also taking notes, so if you want to just listen and enjoy. If you don't mind, lots of feedback on tonight's presentation. If you don't mind, I'm not going to look at the feed too much for the next 20 minutes. I just want to really focus in and give you content, and then I'll come back and see if you have questions and answer those. Is that okay? Yeah, that way I can really, really focus. The meditation is in your classroom, and it's also in the Facebook group, in the announcements, I think. The Prima Materia meditation. I recorded it separately, and we posted it in your Facebook group, I think last Friday or Saturday, if I'm recalling right. So anyway, it's there for you, and Alexis will help you find it. So not to worry, you're totally fine. Okay, good. So here, just be here with me now. I got things to tell you. Okay. Oh, good. Well, don't worry, Miss Jade. We'll figure that out for you. You shouldn't be restricted, ever. Certainly not from a classroom, right? Okay. What is magic? What is magic? I'm going to tell you my definition of magic, and I've lived it, right? The fact that I'm even sitting here tonight, like teaching you things, is magic. Magic is the capacity to create something from nothing, or from a perceived nothing, right? We used to say, like, the rabbit out of the hat, right? Isn't that something from nothing? Look in my hat. There's nothing in my hat. And then I shake my hat and I go poof, and all of a sudden there's a rabbit in it, right? That's magic, and it has always been magic. That's always been kind of the working universal definition. If someone's a magician, they are able to create something from nothing. What I want to tell you tonight is, that's right, abracadabra, which is Arabic, right? Abracadabra is real. But I want to tell you tonight about physics, because what's always missing from conversations about magic is quantum physics. And I think part of the reason that people don't talk about it very much is they don't understand it. I want to encourage you to become a student of quantum physics. I'm going to give you a little primer tonight, a little bit of an introduction to it, broad strokes, and then I want to encourage you to explore. There's a book I've been reading, and I really like it because it's not so much the author, but it's the way he writes about some of these concepts of consciousness, and he puts it in kind of plainer language. And so once I'm done with his book, I'm not done with it yet, but I will be next week. I've been reading it for the last couple of weeks. If I really feel like it's the right book for you, I'll post it and link to it for you so that you can get it too if you'd like, because it is complicated. Okay, quantum physics is complicated. And quantum physics is new. It's modern. This is not like old science, right? Quantum mechanics is the newest arm of physics. And what it deals with, at its core, is what are known as subatomic particles. Okay, which means the world that you can't see, the world that is so small you can't see it, that's subatomic, right? So they call it particle physics because it really deals with what is invisible. It's phenomena that are not available to your senses. So how do you discern? It's like talking in a circle, right? Yeah. No, I will. Yeah, I'm almost done with it, and I think I will recommend it. I don't recommend a book until I really am done with it and feel like, I weigh it and think about, is this the right book for you guys to read? But so far, I've been pretty impressed with it. So, okay. Something from nothing. Except what quantum physics teaches us, you guys, is that there is no nothing. There is no thing. And how do we know that from a physics perspective? Well, let me explain. What quantum or mechanical physicists have discovered in their research is that even at the 0 point, right, of temperature, for example, 0 degrees, or even at the 0 point of movement, where we think of things as being absolutely still, the Hermetic principles still hold. everything vibrates. Everything is in motion. You know the Hermetic principles, right? If not, we need to do a refresh on them, and it's very important that you know the Hermetic principles. These are the principles that were written on the emerald tablet, right? This is sort of the basics of how we believe the universe functions, right? There is no nothing. There is no thing. Right? If you think about sacred geometry, it all begins with a point. And it's fascinating to me because this is the most simple thing you'll ever hear, but it's also the most complex. You know, in the beginning there was light, right? There was a point. You know, God put the pen down on paper and created a point. And from that point we create a circle, and from that circle we create the seed of life, and from the seed of life we create the flower of life, right? And from the flower of life then we have, you know, that's the division of the cell, right? But there is no thing. Every male body has semen, every female body has eggs, right? There is no thing. There is no empty human without the capacity to create life. There's no thing, right? That would be an anomaly. Can you imagine hearing? I mean, it would make news worldwide if there was a human born without ovaries, without eggs, without sperm, without, you know what I mean? Like, this would be a thing. We would know about it, right? That's right. Fuel your magic. All energy exists, and it can neither be created or destroyed. Therefore, there is no such thing as no thing. You can kill a person. You cannot destroy their energy. It just gets absorbed back into the field, right? That's what death is. So death is the end of the container. It is not the end of the energy, right? And so this is right. As Londa said, we're all made up of black matter. Let me explain this to you. So when people ask, where did we come from, or what happened, or how did we get here, the answer, of course, is always the Big Bang, right? That's the theory about how our entire universe was created 14 billion years ago. The problem with the Big Bang is that it still doesn't explain how or why. You know, a friend of mine who's a physicist, I thought this was so really intelligent. He's so funny too, and he's very like easy to understand, but he's so smart. What he says is, people talk about the Big Bang, and all they can say is the Big Bang happened because it happened. There's never like a why. Oh, the Big Bang happened because Bueller, right? There's no real why. There's no impetus for why the universe decided in its infinite wisdom to expand, right? The Big Bang was an expansion of energy. And so what we know is that was the beginning. That was the cauldron, right? That was the stirring of the pot. That was the beginning of the melding of the force of life, right? Well, that's the question. What caused the Big Bang? Why did it happen? Everybody's got a theory. Some people have no theories. My friend is like, if anybody tells you they know why the Big Bang happened, they're lying. They don't know why the Big Bang happened because the Big Bang happened, right? Now, I mean, he's not a spiritual person. He's pretty agnostic, right? So, I mean, I would say the Big Bang happened as a force of creation, right? Sometimes I like to have a Big Bang. And there's no real reason why, except I want to experience the force of creation. But my friend would say, that's BS. You know, the universe isn't just trying to get it on with itself. It's not, you know, it's not trying to have a good time, right? Well, and so I believe that there is a higher power that stirs the cauldron, right? But my friend does not. So when you look at it from that perspective, from that agnostic perspective, which I respect, by the way, I'm not a proselytizer. I'm not interested in convincing people that, you know, there's a God or source or whatever. Like, you don't believe it? Great, you know, move on. But I believe there is a source creator, and I believe that source creator had a moment of design, of intention to manifest what's here. And I want you, right? I agree with you, Janisa. Janisa said, I think the Big Bang is an after effect of the energy being created. Remember, there always has to be a womb. for creation? What's the womb? The Big Bang is the orgasm that produces the wapow, right? Wapow. What's the cauldron? What's the womb? Right? What precipitated that? What gestated that? Life is born after gestation. And the universal principles, I think, always apply. You know what I mean? That's the scientist in me. Like, I look for patterns, right? Yeah. So anyway, I promised myself I wasn't going to look at the feed, and I'm looking at the feed. I'm not going to look at the feed. Okay, so the no thing to scientists is called the quantum vacuum. That's what so when you ask a scientist what is nothing, they're going to say, oh, the quantum vacuum. Okay, so we can talk about the quantum vacuum. And then the everything, because there's the no thing over here, no thing, everything. This is the spectrum that we're on, right? The everything is the universe as we know it, including our civilization and our kind and our current state of evolution and all of that, right? Ooh, beautiful, Jill. It's so true. Life's longing for itself. Yeah, no, I love that. The macrocosm, right? I think you're absolutely right. Very, very accurate. That's right. Okay, so the 0 point field. Let me explain what this is, okay? The 0 point field is the quantum state at which energy rests at its lowest possible vibration. The 0 point field is a state at which energy rests at its lowest possible vibration. It's the vodka that you put in the freezer. It still won't freeze because at 0 point it's still liquid because it's a jerk and it doesn't want to follow the rules, right? Which proves to you that not everything freezes at the 0 point, which means that all energy doesn't vibrate in the same way. Some things vibrate at a higher rate, which prevents them from freezing. Some things vibrate at a lower rate, which allows them to freeze, right? Okay. But a vacuum is not empty. This is really, really important because I'm teaching you about the primordial source of magic right now. Let's apply this. Ready? I know, ooh, vodka. Don't get distracted. I like vodka too. When you release energy, you have to replace it with something else because you are creating open space, and the universe always introduces energy into an open space. There is no vacuum. We perceive a vacuum as humans, but the universe doesn't perceive a vacuum. All vacuums are filled. Does that make sense? You're totally okay to color, by the way. I'm just giving you some context for tonight, you know, because I wanted to go a little intellectual, and then we'll go into the artistic. It's the primordial goo. It's a really great way to say it. Okay. So technically at 0 point, there is a vibration still present in all matter. And I find hope here. I find hope because I don't like the idea that there is a point at which nothing exists. I like the idea that everything always exists. It's a matter of whether you can perceive it or not with your available dimensional tools. Okay? Well, I try to give a couple examples of that, like vodka not freezing at 0 degrees, right? So that's an example of something that doesn't respond to this. But if you think about everything that you consider to be a vacuum, a black hole, right, of energy, still has energy within it. It's still vibrating. It is still measurable. There is still a resonance, right? Nothing is something. Thank you, Susie Bloom. It's a beautiful way of putting it too. That's right. Okay, 0 point energy is infinite, meaning not only does everything vibrate all the time, even at the 0 point. Might be a slow vibration, but it's a vibration. But that vibration is infinite. It has no beginning. It has no end. Okay? I'm glad you guys are with me. If I start to lose you, let me know. What we perceive as a vacuum is actually a field of energy. Okay? What we perceive as the vast cosmos that's almost unknowable right? What we perceive as black holes or this dark matter in the universe is actually an entire field of energy. Okay, and so this is what I was trying to draw for you in my absolutely terrible illustration that I think is still okay to explain something to you. So this is technically a vacuum. You're over here all human, and I love you for it, going, oh, me and my problems, and is there a God, and I don't know, and then here's all your other lifetimes, like trying to give you some wisdom, but you're like pretending you didn't have other lives, or la la la, I don't know, or you're, you know, numbed out. I'm not talking about you in particular, but like this is the human existence, right? Like, and then you've got some humans over here going, there's no God and stuff, and meanwhile this whole thing over here is going, excuse me, like we're all over here vibrating, this is real. Like, sorry you didn't get the memo. This is its own coherent field of energy, is where we're heading with this. And this field of energy is holographic, and it never stops existing. It never really began, and it never really will end. This entire field of your life is vibrating, right? And it exists. And it has always existed. And it doesn't matter whether you're alive or not. This will exist just like this when you take your last breath on this planet, except this will become one of these other circles. And then when you come in the next time, this life is going to be up here. And then the next time you're going to be like, see, I don't even know if I had a past life. And you're going to be up here going, excuse me? Where were you in 2020? What the fuck happened to you? Like, you don't remember that? Soul shift? And you're going to be down here going, I don't even know. Is there a God? Like, these are the cycles that you go through. And this is why your spirit guides, I mean, I honestly think my spirit guides are probably just get frustrated with me sometimes. You know, like, really? We have to have this whole conversation again? You don't know if God's real? Oh, okay. You don't remember your past lives? Oh, okay, right? Like, this is sort of infinitely repeating itself over and over and over again until... Now, Jessica's got a great question. Do we all commingle on that same existence? This is where it gets really interesting to me. Here's the theory, okay? Christine, you're right with me, girl. Stay there, okay? Did you see Christine? When our ancestors reincarnate, do their old selves come in? Everything is here. Everything is here. Every ancestor, and not only every ancestor, every decision that you made in your life, those decisions are still being worked out holographically. So I think it's possible you over here got divorced 20 years ago, but there's a you in here still in that relationship. Okay? I think all of your possible iterations for this lifetime are still being worked out holographically in other dimensions of reality that don't even involve your past lives. That's what deja vu is, right? A lot of times it's the deja vu is the collapsing of timelines. In this field of energy, there are no lifetimes. It's all happening all at once. All the time. All around you. And so that's why I think, I think at some point when we cross over, I don't know this for sure because I haven't consciously done it yet, but I think we must have a moment where we're like, I really wish I'd known this is how it was. And that's why because I perceive that this is accurate, this is why I try to teach it, because I would rather that you figure out and sort this out, that this is the way it is now, and start to acclimate to this so you live your life in a more accurate way, rather than, one day you cross over and you wake up on the other side and you're like, oh shit. This is what was going on. Oh my God. I had no idea, right? Like, I would have done things so differently or whatever if there isn't even I don't even think there's a possibility for regret when we cross, but I know. So what I'm telling you tonight is, I hope, going to shift your perspective. And then once your perspective shifts, your experience can shift. And once your experience shifts, then your wisdom shifts, okay? Is that what happens in depersonalization? To a certain extent, yes, because you aren't focused on this particular iteration of who you are. You become more conscious to and more aware of and more connected to these other iterations of you, right? These other cycles of your own consciousness and your own awareness. So Kayla, the proof in all of this is quantum physics, which on the far end of the spectrum, what you can do is actually take a quantum mechanics class at a university. That's the far end of where you can go. Or you can just read, which is what I've done. I did take physics in college, and I did have a professor who was a quantum physicist. And so I did get, when I was 18, 19, 20, I was having these conversations. But not from this lens. I was more interested in life and death and where do we go after death. And I remember having all these conversations and talking about the field and quantum entanglement and how, you know, which quantum entanglement teaches us that when people die, they don't go anywhere, right? Like, because once two particles entangle, this is the hypothesis anyway of quantum entanglement, which is part of quantum mechanics. And you will love this if you've lost someone, because it will really help you feel better. And even if you just broke up with someone and you feel sad that you're not going to see them again, which has happened to me. When two particles interact, this is quantum physics. Okay, two particles are interacting, right? And there are certain kinds of interactions that are really profound, like parent-child interactions or sexual intercourse, okay? So certain kinds of interactions are tighter than other kinds of interactions. But when you have a really tight interaction, like an intimate relationship or a parental relationship or a child relationship, when you pull those particles apart, they continue to vibrate together in absolute alignment. This is quantum entanglement. And it doesn't matter how far apart they are or how long they are apart. Once particles entangle, they are always entangled, and you can't remove it. And this is true, and this is physics. This isn't like, oh, woo-woo metaphysics, weird Athena stuff, where'd she get that? This is legit. I mean, this is a hypothesis that has been tested and found to be accurate. So quantum entanglement for me has been a really healing line of inquiry, because it teaches me that I'm never really apart from people I love, right? If we've entangled, we're still entangled, and you can feel it. And that's why you'll get that call when you're sad from that person, and it's like, how'd you know? You know, or you'll see the butterfly cross your path, and that was the symbol from your mom, you know, or whatever, and you'll see that. It's like and you know you're still entangling. I mean, I'm sure I don't even have to tell you that this is true, right? And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the being is alive. If you've ever entangled, you are always entangled. That soul entanglement remains. And let me take it a step further, because this is what I believe. You entangled with those people before you came into this lifetime. You were already entangled. And that's why that's why your connection with your mom or your dad or that incredible love of your life or whatever will never be diminished, because I don't think you just became entangled in the 70s. You know what I mean? I think you've been entangled for millennia. And so and that's how, when you see someone and you're like, oh, I know you, it's like, right? That you instantly re-entangle, and it's so powerful and it's so profound. You want to be with each other all the time. You never want to be apart, and oh my God, the sex is good, and and you still entangle. And that's why I think that entanglement persists beyond lifetimes. I think it persists. It doesn't matter what the terms of the relationship are or how long it's been. You are eternally entangled. And this is with your parents, this is with your life loves, and it's for better or worse. That's why I always tell people, be careful who you entangle with. It's no joke, because you may want to disentangle, and it's very hard, because particles that entangle always entangle. Okay. Here's where I'm going with this. In this field, and this field that I'm talking about, where your current lifetime, all of your past lifetimes, all of your early civilizations, all of that, this field exists. It's vibrating it will exist now, it has always existed, it will always exist. And in this field, which is called the Akashic field, okay, this is the Akashic field. In this field is encoded a hologram of everything that has ever happened in the field. Every conversation, every relationship, and the potential is encoded. So even the relationships that didn't materialize, or that you thought ended, or the job that you thought you were going to take but you didn't end up taking, all of that is also encoded in the Akashic field. Okay? So when we talk about the Akashic records, a lot of people imagine that it's like, right? A lot of people imagine that the Akashic records are like some physical library somewhere, or they think it's some like, angels are holding these like scrolls, or I don't know what they think the Akashic field or the Akashic records are. The Akashic records are nothing more than the compendium of all of the holograms of all of us, of every moment, every experience, every word, every unspoken word, every potential for every word and every relationship and every, okay? Now do you see why this is so overwhelming? And this is why, you guys, this is why when people say, I want to know it all, I want to do it all, I just want my spirit guides to show me everything, I want to know all my past lives, you would be so overwhelmed. We can't hold this. This is unholdable. Can you see why? How many people are alive now? How many people were ever alive? Ever. How many people will ever live after us? And how many decisions, how many words, how many relationships, how much potential for relationship, how many unspoken conversations, how many missed opportunities? And so Thomasina just went where I'm about to go. This is what Carl Jung calls the collective unconscious, which again, you're all part of, whether you like it or not. I am part of this. I'm part of your unconscious. You're part of my unconscious. Everything that you've thought but never spoken, all of your deepest, darkest desires, all of your shitty things that you've done, and all the secrets that you keep, and all of everything. It's all encoded, encrypted. It's all here. And so when you say, oh, spirit guides, I want it all, they're like, no. Because they know that this is, on some fundamental level, this is unknowable, right? But in this great stew is so much available wisdom for you. And I do think that we get shown bits and pieces and parts and things, what we need to know at the time for us to make sense of the part of the journey that we're on, right? But it's so true. Dr. Chris said, we are one. There is no one who's outside of this field. And in this field, there is no one more powerful than any other one. I'm not better than you here. I'm not smarter than you here. I'm not cuter than you here, right? We are all, this is an even playing field. And it is the even playing field of an entire planetary evolution, right? So I like to envision this as a well, of water that I can drink from, or I like to envision this as a well of inspiration that I can draw from. And I like to envision that it isn't something I have to know. I mean, I think I'm a smart person, and I'm a student of this universe, and I'm endlessly fascinated by it. I don't expect by the time I'm 80 and I check out that I'm gonna really get this. Not with a human brain, and not, it's so true, Mad Helper, we're stardust, right? We came into this, we will leave this, we made our imprint, but this is what matters. You matter because you have made imprint here. Every, we can talk about all of the bad decisions that we make and all of the harm that we create and all of that. That's in there. But so is your love and your passion and your truth and your commitment and your excitement, and so is your art. That's in there. You put your art there. Sage Goddess is there, right? That's one of my little imprints on this Akashic field. And whatever else it is, right? When I this little art that I'm making, or not this one, because that's not the the one I'm making, but when I when I finish mine, that's in the field, right? And that's the question. What are you adding to the collective from Sherry? And I will tell you, at the end of this year, you will know what your conscious addition to the Akashic field really is, and the direction that you need to take to manifest more of that before you have to leave. That should be your, really, as a human being, in my opinion, that should be your sole focus. How much can I thoughtfully and intentionally imprint into the Akashic field before I go home, right? If we're all here to do this, right? And it's true, Lola said we're constantly making contributions to the collective, but it is good to be intentional about what that is. And don't overlook the micro contributions that you make, right? Well, and the generations are there, Debbie, right? Because as I was saying earlier, everybody's there. Your grandparents are there. Their imprints are there. And so when we say, well, I'm not going to be like her, or I'm not going to be like him, or I'm not going to repeat those mistakes, that becomes a matter of consciously going in and being able to understand and reconcile the imprints, and then learning how you can differentiate your imprint, and why you want to differentiate your imprint, and how you want to bring a different imprint to the field. Yeah, and how deeply will you go? And you have time. That's what's so beautiful, I think, about coming into this wisdom, is you have time. It's not too late. And once you start to realize how that every thought you have is there, and you start looking at this as a tank that you can fill with fuel for future generations. I'm getting older, right? So, duh. I still feel really young, but, I'm going to be 48 this year. And, which I think is really young, but, I'm in menopause, and I'm feeling some of the creaks and moans of the turn of the wheel, right? I want to use my time well. I want to imprint as much wisdom. I want to imprint as much wisdom about the ancient traditions as I can, because I believe that reawakens them and brings them forward for future generations, right? And instead of looking at it as what you don't want, because remember in the readings today from Abraham Hicks, right? Like that was the whole, or for Esther Hicks, that was the whole point today, is you shouldn't just focus on what you don't want or what you're trying to avoid, or, oh, my parents did this, or, oh, that. It's good to understand all of that, but the focus has to shift, because it has to shift from resentment for where you came from or what you didn't get or what you didn't have, to how are you going to make sure that the imprint you leave is in service to the future of the collective, and that you bring through as much wisdom as you can, right? To feed into that container. And this is one of the shifts of soul shift, because it gets us out of this nagging, bitching, complaining. And I'm saying this with all the respect, because I have my own nagging, bitching, complaining moments, I didn't have this, and I wish I had that, and why didn't I get this, and life is so unfair. And then I turn it around, because you got to flip that script and go, but now I'm here, and I've got the wisdom, and I'm all grown up. You know what I mean? And I've got some resources. Like, what can I do to help these next generations? It's so important. And that will get you out of resentment. That'll get you out of anger. That'll get you out of frustration, especially once you start to look at your parents and your ex-husband and the guy down the street who was shitty to you, or the woman who really did you wrong and left you high and dry. Once you start to look at them as small as they are and as flawed as they are, and looking at them with some compassion, because they have their own imprinting they have to be conscious of, and may they do it well, right? Right? This is really important. Okay. This field of energy mediates all of our interactions, and it decides, this is what really gets me excited. So in this field, I'm almost done, by the way. I hope I'm not boring you, but this is really important information. I know it's a little dry, but it's kind of foundational for the work that we're doing in Alchemy this year. This field, not all interactions are equal, okay? And you've heard of magnetic attraction or magnetism or charisma, right? Certain people are more magnetically attracted to each other than others, and it's because they came in entangled They already came into this pre-entangled. They're not meeting these people again in this life. They're remembering who these people are. And I can say that for sure about Dave. I can say it about my kids. I can say it about my first love. I can say it about my parents. There's just certain people in this life I know I knew before. And so we're already pre-entangled. We're already pre-loaded, right, to like connect with each other. I'm glad you're not bored. Good, good, good. I worry sometimes when it's not the most exciting information, but it's so important that we talk about this because, again, it's foundational to the rest of the work that we're going to be doing all year long. Okay, good. So some of us come in pre-wired to want to entangle with each other, and that's why, but that also sets us up for heartbreak, right? Because that entanglement sometimes suggests, I want to use my wording carefully here, sometimes suggests that we have a right to people, or we should be with them, or why aren't you with me, or why did you treat me like that? You know what I mean? Because we look at these pre-entangled relationships and we think they should be perfect and easy, and like we should never have any relationship problems. We're soulmates, right? We came into this life, we knew each other. Those relationships are the ones that are most fraught with problems, the pre-entangled relationships, because you got baggage and it's all in the fucking field. Your mom was not your mom 2 lifetimes ago. She was your shitty neighbor Doris, and Doris stole all your cows. And you were like, Doris, those are my cows. And she was like, forget you, they're my cows now. And she just walked away. You were like, wow, you're shitty Doris. And that's in the field. So now you come into this relationship and you look up at your mom as a baby and you're like, that's Doris. And I want my cows. And so we get off on the foot, right? Because, I mean, I'm giving you a ridiculous example, but that's what happens. Damn it, Doris. Hate you, Doris. Right? So, but all of that stuff. So whatever your mom did to you, you know, whatever your partner did to you, good, bad, ugly, otherwise, right? Doris and her damn cows are sitting in the field and you're like, I hate you, Doris. And she's like, I hate you too. And then you end up in these really dysfunctional mother-daughter relationships or whatever. And, you know, in your next lifetime, you'll figure it out. You'll be like, it was Doris. I knew it. And you know what, Doris? You're not coming back as my mom next time. Well, can I come back as your sister? Okay, you can be my sister. Don't you dare pretend like you're going to give birth to me with my damn cow sitting over there. Doris is the new Karen. I think my mom was Doris. I could be wrong. What did your Doris do to you? Mine stole some cows. Did your Doris do something crappier than that? I don't know. Okay. All experiences. Here's my quote for you. Are you ready? Oh, yeah, totally. Edgar Cayce was all up in this. He knew it. He could see it, right? Leave my cows alone, Doris. You know what's good for you, Doris. So here's the quote. You ready? And this is important. I'm going to say it twice. When I say something twice, it's because I want you to sit with it. All experiences are therefore encoded, eternal and accessible across all dimensions forever. Not today, Doris. Oh, my poor mom. Not today, Doris. I'm going to have a wine glass made that says not today, Doris on it. Thank you, Alicia. I adore you too. Okay. All experiences are therefore encoded, eternal and accessible across all dimensions forever. Amen, aho, and so it is. Okay, so your origins, your prima materia, your black matter, your dark matter extends way beyond and before your current lifetime, all the way back to Doris. You're gonna make a meme, that's good. Leave my cows the F alone, Doris. I see you, Doris. I got your number. We've been here before, Doris. Don't do it. Okay. So I'm almost done. I just have like 2 more minutes of stuff I want to tell you. Now I'm just going to go through my notes. In alchemy, And in the emerald tablet, the black matter, the first matter, is referred to as the one thing, which I love. The one thing. The one thing. You want me to say it one more time? That last quote? I can say it. It is important. All experiences are therefore encoded, eternal and accessible across all dimensions forever. 2020 was a Doris, man. She took my cows. I want to create a meme of Doris with Bernie sitting there in his mittens. Doris is stealing my cows, and Bernie's sitting there, you know. We could take this in all kinds of intense directions. Okay, so let me go back. In alchemy and in the emerald tablets, all first matter is referred to as the one thing. Okay, and I'll come back to your questions in just a second. The hieroglyph for the one thing, and there is a hieroglyph for it, and here's what's really interesting. And I've talked to friends who know, I have one friend who's an archaeologist and verified that this is true. The hieroglyph KH, which looks like, I don't have a pen. I drew a small picture of it here. Let me show you the small picture I drew. This is KH, the hieroglyph for it. Is the foundation of the word chem, which is the root of the word alchemy in chemistry, right? Chem, which means black, by the way. This hieroglyph in Egyptian is one of the only hieroglyphs that doesn't have a translation. Nobody really knows how to translate KH. Because it basically means the void, the emptiness, the primordial chaos, right? The that which is not and that which is all. It's the one thing, right? So it's a very interesting concept, especially given that archaeologists say they don't exactly know how to translate that particular. I can't with the Dora stuff. It's too good. Now this one thing is capable of producing life. So some people call it the placenta of the cosmos. And again, I'm bringing all this up tonight because this is what we're trying to trace. We're trying to trace your one thing. At the end of tonight, when you look at this, I want you to be able to look at this and say, my one thing is, and try to distill it down. You know, looking at this one, the way my team drew it, I think my one thing is beauty. And I've always felt like beauty is the energy stream that I'm here to serve. I'm here to create beauty for people and to try to, and I don't mean physical beauty, I mean energetic beauty, inspiration, right? Showing people something, inviting them to a vision that's greater than their current reality, which I think is part of magic, right? Okay. Other symbols of this one thing, the KH, the chem, the Ouroboros is, so in Western alchemy, which adapted all of this Eastern alchemy I'm teaching you this year and borrowed it and took it into the Western tradition. And we're talking about Greeks and Romans primarily, but even earlier than that, going back to Mesopotamia, right? The creation of the Ouroboros, which is really the first magical image ever created, which is the snake eating its own tail, is also a representation of the prima materia. If you wanted, you could add the Ouroboros to your crest tonight, if you feel connected to it. And the idea of the Ouroboros is the snake consumes itself and is reborn and then goes through its life cycle again. So what the Ouroboros teaches us is that we are complete unto ourselves. That everything within us is a reflection of everything outside of us and vice versa. And how does this relate to the 0-point field? The idea of the 0-point field is that each one of your cells has enough DNA in it to be able to recreate your entire body. So in physics, we say the part is the whole, right? Each cell in your body could create an entire new you, right? That's how we think about really controversial practices of cloning and stuff, right? I can clone you. We can clone you. We don't do it because we don't want to play God. But the idea is that within each one of your cells, there's enough data, enough information to be able to create another you. Now, Karen Brown's got the right question. the Ouroboros is a single snake. Doesn't it make sense that the first teachings about magic, and really the first symbol, because the Ouroboros is the primordial symbol of magic, is one snake, okay? After the Ouroboros, we have the caduceus, which is two snakes winding up the staff of Asclepius, right? What do the two snakes represent, right? Like Karen Brown is asking, why double? What the development of the Ouroboros from a single snake to the Asclepius with the double snake, okay, to that sacred symbol, the caduceus. Because the rod of Asclepius is the single snake and the caduceus is the double. The transformation is the recognition of duality, that there isn't just one force in this universe, that it's actually dual. And again, we go back to the Hermetic principles. All things are dual, right? They are masculine and they are feminine. All things. But again, within you, you have both. And it took both to create you. But the feminine on its own cannot create life. The masculine on its own cannot create life. The duality is what creates. Your DNA is that double helix. That's exactly right. And so we have this understanding that it isn't just the one thing. What happened to the single point of creation that formed the circle? The cell separates and divides, and then we have what is it called when you have a single cell that divides and now you have two? What's the name of that sacred symbol, which is also on the chalice well at Glastonbury? Do you guys know what that is called, that symbol? That symbol is the evolution from thinking that we are just the one thing, the prima materia, this primordial chaos, this goo, right? The cell divides and we become two, right? And that is called the Vesica Pisces. You've seen the Vesica Pisces, right? And then from the Vesica Pisces, it continues to divide and divide and divide and divide until we have the flower of life, which is just the Vesica Pisces doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling, right? And then that is infinite, right? That expansion of energy. The flower of life, we always see it in a circle, but the flower of life extends indefinitely in all directions, across all dimensions. It is eternal and infinite. And so, right? So that is the human life, if you think about it, starts from the point of creation, the sperm, fertilizing the egg, and that is the single cell that implants. But from there it divides and divides and divides and divides and divides, and now you have this human, which is the result of the duality that had to come together to create it. See, I turned Sherry odd too much. She's having a moment over there. It's pretty exciting stuff, isn't it? Okay, now this is the last thing I'm going to say. We as humans have a way of not wanting to do this. We as humans have a way of, or acknowledge this. We as humans have a way of saying, well, that's too simple, or the prima materia isn't worth, discovering or exploring. In alchemy, some of the materials that were thought to represent the prima materia were feces and manure and urine and expelled semen and bodily fluids and dried blood and all of these things. And humans have a way of not wanting to deal in any of that. We see that as dirty as excrement, right? Which literally from the Latin means to release and deny, right? We call excrement that, but it's literally like something that we deny. And yet everybody poops, everybody pees, right? Everybody dies. Like these very common things about us, we tend to want to only focus on life and what's productive and what smells good and what looks good. But we as alchemists have to learn to get into and be comfortable with what is easily rejected, right? What our excrement, which can also be our emotions, right? It can be that anger that we don't want to talk about, because people wouldn't like us if they thought we were angry, or that resentment that you carry. If you're going to do this work this year, you're going to have to be willing to dig in and look at this stuff and ask yourself where it came from, because if you don't, it putrefies. It continues to rot inside of us, and I think it forces premature aging, and I think it causes disease in the body, and I think it it creates depression and anxiety and a full breakdown of us on the emotional and spiritual levels. And so the work that we're doing tonight is, let's go back and figure out where we came from, right? Our chem. What is our black matter? Where is this goo that we emerged from? And what are we to do with it today? Right? That's the process of this year. So let's switch gears now. That was the intellectual part of our evening, this evening. That's kind of good. That's kind of good. You see me okay? And you can see that okay? Yeah, look at that. Okay. I'm going to light my candle just because I can. And then I'm going to take my smoke. One of the nice things about having spray perfumes. The playlist, I don't have a playlist for the music, you guys. It's a channel called Epidemic Sound. I can tell you which channel I use on there. I have a couple that I really like, but they don't give you the names of the songs. They're not by artists, you know, it's like just free, kind of no copyright music. But I really like it, so I'm glad you like it too. Okay, so one mist on your paper. Let me test it myself. There we go. Or two. Because it will dry, and I love this one, by the way. I hope you've loved smoke. It will dry, and your crest will always smell like smoke. Yeah. I'm so glad you liked it. I had to take you somewhere deep before we craft. So, and I know that was a lot to take in, but you guys did great. And it seems like I didn't confuse you, so I'm gonna pat myself on the back too, because that was kind of thick, juicy content tonight. Okay. I didn't want it to turn into a physics class, you know what I mean? You didn't sign up for a physics class, so that would be super weird, but I've got to give you enough of it that we can do the work together. Oh, you do want to see me, don't you? Do you like this? Dave set this up so it'd be a little bit easier to see me. Do you like that? It might look like I'm not looking at you though. Is that okay? Because I'm going to be looking at my paper. But let me try the other one. Maybe that's better. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay. So this is the one my team did, but not the one I'm going to be working on tonight. So I'm going to be working on the one that Zoe did for me. And do you see how it dries and that your paper is scented? Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So I'm going to place this down. And what I'm going to be doing for mine tonight, you do not need to do the same thing. I always kind of go my own way. Did I bring my pen? I have a particular pen I want to use. Oh, poop. Did I not bring it? I may have to go get my pen because I'm very particular. Okay, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I want my good pen. Damn it, Doris. Doris stole my pen. Okay. There we go. Now we're back. Totally want to blame Doris for my pens. Okay. Are you particular? This is my favorite pen. It's been my favorite pen since college, so I've used it forever. I buy them on Amazon. I mean, I don't know that you are interested in that at all, but I like a really fine pen. So all of my notes and everything I do with the Micron, 0.005. Pigma Micron. It's just my favorite pen. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing for my crest, I love my pants. I have like 80 pairs of these, so it probably looks like I'm always wearing the same pair, but I'm not. I just have a lot of them. Okay, so for mine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quiet my mind. You like microns too, isn't it fun? Draw a cow on my coat of arms. I might. My cows are really cute. I draw really cute cows. I taught Zoe how to draw cows when she was little because it was her favorite animal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see how I can show this. Oh no, oh no. I broke my wine glass and everything. Well, I don't think I have a paper towel. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go clean this up. I'll be right back. Hold on. I'm going to dry off my paper. It's not replaceable. Hold on. It's not bad. It just looked aged. Doris messed up my whole craft tonight. That's okay. I'll clean up my wine glass later. I want to focus on our crafting tonight. This is all cleanable. And my cosmic crest is okay. It's going to look aged. It's got Dr. Pepper on it, which is actually part of my, it's actually part of my, what I love. So maybe in a way it's good that it has the, yeah, we're Greek. We like it when we break dishes and cups and stuff, so. God. It doesn't happen, but it's okay. We're moving on. My altar is going to get a good scrub down tonight. Okay. I want to show you more of this. Okay. Make sure it's dry enough for me to set it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little Tucson sign down and I'm going to draw on that for the purposes of time so we don't go too far over. There are no mistakes. It actually doesn't look that bad if you look at it. I'm such a go with the flow person. I honestly don't care when stuff happens, and it looks a little aged. It's totally fine. Okay, so I'm gonna write matrilineal on the top. Top left. Actually, I'm gonna do patrilineal on the top left. And matrilineal on the top right. So this is what I am doing. Isn't it funny how it almost looks okay? It does, it looks like it's okay. I trust the universe and I just believe that everything happens for a reason. Okay, so patrilineal, matrilineal, and then I'm gonna do Lemuria on the right and Atlantis on the left. So that's where I'm at right now. Oh, you guys are so cute. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go quiet for a minute, and I'm going to focus on 3 words for each one of these quarters to describe my line. So I'm going to ask my spirit guides to come closer and to guide me and inspire me tonight with just the right words, just the right energy, just the right descriptions of that lineage. I know. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and I'll share with you what I write. And you can choose to write too, or you can choose to draw for this part, whatever really feels good to you, makes sense to you. All right, spirit guides, for patrilineal, what are 3 important words to describe my father's line? It's actually Dr. Pepper, but I wish it was wine. It would be a little bit more intentional if it was. Okay. I came up with wise, strong, enduring. Wise, strong, and enduring. And then for my matrilineal, what are 3 words for my mom's line? It's such an important question, you know? Alone. Mysterious, powerful, alone. It's interesting that that word came to me because there's lots of divorce or never getting married. There's lots of, loss of children and loss of partners, and there's a lot of that in that line. It's really interesting that comes up. Okay, and then for Atlantis, I want to feel into, actually I'm going to go back to Lemuria first. What are 3 words to describe my engagement in Lemuria? So I came up with healing, love, and connection. Yeah, I think so too, Jimmy. I really believe it. And then for Atlantis, it feels like order, expression. When I think about my lifetime in Atlantis, I feel a lot of pressure to communicate and to create ways to communicate or techniques to communicate. Order, expression, and order, expression, and legacy. That was nice. It's okay if it isn't a positive word that comes through. Like when I was just receiving a loan from my mom's line, and at first I was like, well, that is that how they would want to be described? But the reality is that a lot of them were alone. A lot of them were alone. So I think it's kind of just being with what is, you know what I mean, versus what you want to, you know, because it's really easy for us to project onto a timeline or onto a, you know, and to be trying to create something that isn't there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my crystals here. I'm going to put a little bit of my blue, my E6000 on my plate. And this is going to turn the bead around because once I get my crystals on here, and my intention, by the way, is to actually cut out my my crest and put it onto something that I frame. So it's actually, I think it's going to end up being very pretty. You get lost, yeah, from father's side. So, but I like that. Lost is not a bad thing, right? I mean, we could attach a value to lost and say, oh, it's not a good thing, or I wish I didn't feel lost, or whatever. But when you're lost, it gives you an opportunity to be found, right? There's something about being lost that that invites being found, or it invites, you know, maybe that's part of your purpose, is to become found or to find yourself, because that's part of your legacy and lineage, right? And I think that's fascinating. Yeah, and you have to look at the grief. I mean, the women in my line, I think, really felt like they just weren't meant to be partnered. It was this constant struggle. And so I think there's this sense of like this warrior essence that I don't think they really wanted to embody, but it was just what was available to them. You know, I mean, sometimes you just get born into or incarnated into a lineage and a legacy, and maybe it's not what you would have envisioned for your life, but we also learn to work with what is. So on my patrilineal, I'm going to put a ruby over on my matrilineal side, because rubies for me represent loss, and being lost and being found, and remembering your loved ones who've been lost. There's just a lot of loss in those lines. A lot of loss. And then on my father's side, I'm going to put a garnet over here because I feel a lot of grounding and stability from his line and his lineage. But not as much of the passion or purpose from his side. So I feel like there's a nice balance, right? Yeah, so what I did on mine is I did my father line top left, I did my mother line top right, I did Atlantis in the bottom left, and I did Lemuria in the bottom right, because I just have this feeling that my mom is Lemurian, and that's and I feel like my dad is Atlantean. I've always felt that, for a lot of different reasons. So now I have a little carnelian here that broke, and I really like it, it's pretty. So I'm gonna dip that in some glue, and I'm gonna think about where the carnelian energy is in my chart. I feel like that carnelian energy is strongest around Atlantis. So I'm gonna put that down here. And then I'm gonna put a little bit more glue. The E6000 does kind of tend to dry fast, so that's the only thing. You end up feeling like you're trying to catch up. Did you feel it too? Yeah, and keep in mind, yours, thank you for saying that, Alexis, yours could look totally different. I mean, remember, my team did this one, and it looks completely different, and I love it. But it's just, I'm not an artist. My art is words, right? So that's why I'm writing on it too. So you can totally do it your own way. And I would invite you. Yeah, ruby totally works with love. It works with passion. It works with desire too. Then I have this little red calcite, which is being happy with what you have. And that's totally lineage of my dad. My dad and his family are like, and you can look at that as a good thing or not a good thing. I mean, in a way, they never really wanted more because they were pretty happy with what they had. But it's also a lesson for me about learning to appreciate what I have without constantly expecting something else or waiting for something else. And then I've got orange garnet over here. Like a little, it's again, oh, actually that's a tourmaline. That's good for my mom. Because orange tourmaline for me is about owning your power. And that's been a big lesson that I've learned from my mom's side. I'm just sort of discerning where I want to put that. Put that there. Yeah, it's feeling right. And then I have a little chunk here of Heliodor, which is the stone of the sun. It's got a Greek name, so I think I'm going to put this on my dad's side. And Heliodor is all about optimism. My dad's family was very happy. I mean, there was grief and loss, but there was also a lot of really simple pleasures and joy, right? Yeah, I have to use the art that I've got. You know what I mean? I wasn't born somebody who can paint, but I have my own gifts. And then bismuth I have a little broken shard of bismuth, so I chose that for Atlantis down here with structure and technology. So that feels good to put right there. I need more glue. That's definitely my Atlantean side. And then I have green tourmaline here, which is for wisdom and discernment in love, and that's definitely something from my mother's side. I learned a lot about how to be wise in love from the women in my family, for sure, for sure. Forever and ever. That was one of their gifts. I have to say, my mom and my grandmother are both really like wise in relationships, you know? You can totally use a crystal. I mean, you can get so creative with this, you guys. I should never be your primary inspiration for art pieces, just because I'm not doing this to create a piece of art. I'm really doing this as a gift to myself for healing. So, but some of you, I'm sure, will make things that are stunning. This is aquamarine for emotional renewal and healing, so that feels very Lemurian. I'm going to put that right there. And then this is fluorite, purple fluorite, which is totally a stone. It's a Dharma stone. It helps you understand why you're here and keeps you connected to your soul's greater purpose, and that's totally Lemurian for me. Yeah. Feels good to put the crystals on here. It's kind of coming together, right? I feel connected to it. And then I've got rose quartz for unconditional love. That feels very Lemurian. So I'm going to put that down on the Lemurian side. Well, I guess that wants to go there. That's kind of between my mom's side and Lemuria, which is okay. That's good. I like that. And then amethyst, which is my mom's birthstone, I pulled this out from the matrilineal. So I specifically chose this little cute, it's a little twin amethyst piece. So that's gonna go right there. My mom's birthday is in just a couple days. She's on the 16th of February. And my grandma was an Aquarius too. Her birthday was the 13th. She would have been I don't know. She was born in 1917. How old would that make her this year? This is a broken piece of scapulite for helping me not screw up my own life. I think that goes on my matrilineage too. I was raised by some tough women who really understood like how to live, how to love. Let's see. Are you having fun? I'm just kind of tooling away here while we chit chat a little bit. I've got this really cool little. That's neat. This really cool little. It's just a little broken piece too of a little celestial, smoky celestial quartz point. So I'm going to put that over on my dad's side. kind of feeling like this is Atlantean. It's interesting. I'll put it between my dad's side and Atlantis. That feels good to do that. Because there's definitely overlap there. That's good. And then dad's side. There was always a desire for abundance. They were always trying to find a better life for their kids and for, you know, for themselves, because they lost everything in the war with Turkey. So, literally everything. They had no clothes, no food, no home, no nothing, right? So, and they wanted more for their children and their grandchildren, and you know, I think as most generations do. That up there. And then emerald. Ooh, that's so Atlantean. Get this emerald on here. It's a little tiny shard of it, emerald, but it's perfect for down here. So here's where we are now. It's starting to feel like something, right? It's fun. And then, you know, you'll take this and you'll completely make it your own, and it'll be super duper magics, and you know, it'll be exactly what it needs to be for you. I did pull a couple of really cool sapphires out, and so I want to put a sapphire down for Atlantis, because I feel like sapphire is very Atlantean. I really, really do. It's wisdom, technology. So my little baby. Kept this because it was like too small to sell. It's smaller than even like the smallest ones on our website. So I was like, well, nobody wants that. I'm gonna put it in my little art bin. So that little tiny sapphire over there. And then let's see what else I've got here. Ooh, I have a nice piece of chrysocolla. It's broken, but like I said, the broken pieces are so perfect for crafting. And then that feels like my mom. That's the divine feminine. Unconditional love too. So that belongs definitely on the matrilineal Lemuria side. I've got a rad piece of kyanite. Oh, Alexis, I love you. It's really bothering her that you guys don't have art supplies. Alexis is such a gifted artist. She's got all the skills I don't have. It's okay because Alexis has them. My dad's the one that taught me balance. He really is. I learned it a little bit from my mom, but my dad taught me balance. I think the most of all out of my parents. I've got a little blue topaz for protection and also for wisdom, and for my throat chakra. And my throat chakra is all my mom. My dad is an internal processor and doesn't talk very much. So all my talky R talkerman self, that's all my mom. My mom is the talker. If my dad talks, everybody listens because he just never says anything. I mean, he talks to me, but my dad's very shy, so when he talks, everybody turns around like, what's he saying? Okay. Nick is kind of like that. My son is very much like my dad. I named him after my dad. I didn't realize he was going to be like an absolute carbon copy of him. I have a little rainbow moonstone here, a little tiny little dude. It's very pretty. Getting glue all over it. Okay. Behave here. So this is a stone of completion and fruition. So I'm going to put this right in the middle at the top of the crest. That feels really right for a beautiful rainbow moonstone, and I'll show you that in a minute. Your dad's the same way. I mean, I love it because when he does talk, he's very intentional. He has something to tell you. And usually I'm waiting for it, like, what are you going to say? I do have pink tourmaline here, and I specifically chose, although I've got a little morganite here. Ooh, I'm going to put the morganite. Morganite is, there's a lot of very regal energy on my dad's side. And I've told you before about the story, you know, that my grandmother told about them being royalty. I don't know that it's true. But my dad carries himself, and always has, in a very kind of regal way. He's very sovereign. So I'm going to put that morganite up there to represent that. Push it out just a little bit. What do you think? I've got other crystals here. Let me see if there's one more from my mom's side, because I've got a little space there. Got a little scapulite, but I put one down already. Clear quartz. Tanzanite. My mom's all the intuition. All of my psychic gifts come from my mom's line. So Tanzanite, that's her. And I needed one more, so it's literally like the perfect little final addition. I love that. That totally worked. My mom is incredibly psychic and very gifted. Yeah, I like that. What do you think? It feels very right to me. And do you know what I'm noticing? This is funny. Like, I just kind of trust the process. But check this out. Down the Atlantean side, I put all the stones in a line. Do you see it? And down the Lemurian side, it looks like I wasn't even looking when I put them on there. Like, they're all loop-de-loo on the Lemurian side, and on the Atlantean side, it's like very straight line, very organized, very structured. That is so Lemurian and Atlantean. I love that I did it that way without even really realizing. I just looked down and I'm like, of course I did it that way. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I had planned to do this anyway, but now I'm really going to do it because of all my Dr. Pepper. But you can't even tell, honestly, anymore that it got spilled on. I think it looks okay. I guess we don't have that camera anymore, but it looks okay, right? Yay! All's well that ends well, everybody. So, what's cool about this for me is it represents Wabi Sabi, it represents Zoe because she added to it, it represents everything that I love, and I really feel like I came up with the accurate words to describe. I wasn't sure how that process was going to go, but it really feels very accurate for me. Yeah, there's a total color divide. Everything about it is just like, in its own imperfect way, everything about that is as perfect as I think it could possibly be. Dr. Pepper is my DNA. I'm actually really sad. I don't have that much Dr. Pepper in the house, so I'm like, shit, I wasted like 4 ounces of it by spilling it, man. That's a little splash. What are you gonna say? Interesting. So Cass said her paper isn't letting her draw on it in some places, right? Oh yeah. It's true about the stones too, matching what Zoe added, and I think it's really interesting because if you noticed, I wasn't picking stones with that intention, right? That the colors were going to line up and match and everything, but it totally kind of followed her intuitive painting that she did too. Well, now that our work is complete, I would really love it this weekend if you're doing it. You know, you don't have to do the crafts when I do it. You can do it anytime you want. Some people go back and do the crafts months later, and that's okay with me too. If you do it this weekend, though, I would love to see what you do. If you wouldn't mind posting a picture, I would really like to see your crest. And like I said, please don't feel like it has to look like anything in particular. These are 2 very different people who created these, and with different, skills and intentions, but they're both very meaningful. So just have fun with it. You really, as with everything in Soul Shift, you can't screw this up. Even if you spill your drink all over it, we can still say it's beautiful, because it is. I feel like it is. So with that, you guys, it's hard to even like say it. Our first month of Soul Shift tonight is complete. Our first month through the calcination process. That's a great question from Kelly Williams, Alexis. She's asking if she can download a clean one, a new one. Yeah, seriously, can you believe that was 2 hours? It didn't feel like it to me. It went by really fast. Hopefully it went by fast for you too. Good things always do. Bad things, they seem like they go on forever. So I always like to hear that it went by fast. Did you have fun? For your crucible paper, it will be up to you if you post it or not. Some people really want to share, and some people absolutely do not. So I will never force you to share anything. I will always say, if you feel called, please share it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Because for some people that is terrifying, and for some people it's absolutely liberating to share their work. You know, so don't feel pressured one way or the other. Ooh, the file is already in your classroom. Because Alexis is good like that. She really is. She thinks of everything. You're so good, Alexis, at what you do. Well, I had an absolute blast with you guys. My pants are wet. My pants are wet. But not because I urinated on myself, but because I spilled my drink. So if anyone asks you, I heard Athena wet her pants tonight in class, you're going to be like, you know what? Be nice. Doris knocked over her Dr. Pepper. Like the jerk she is. I'm so glad you enjoyed it too. And I hope you enjoyed the whole month. I am enjoying this year's class as much or more than as I have ever enjoyed anything. I am enjoying you. I'm enjoying your presence. I'm enjoying the Facebook group. I was in the Facebook group a good chunk of this morning, reading your posts and responding, and I'm just having such a blast with you. So I hope you know that, and I hope you can feel it too. My pants are wet today. I have to explain it to Dave. Having wet pants is not a typical side effect of teaching online classes. So let me explain the crucible to you real quick, and then I'll sign off. Because it's actually good to start thinking about it now. So next month we're going to be talking about the crucible, and we're going to be really leaning into some fire element work. And the idea of the crucible in chemistry is that it's the fire, right? That you place something in the crucible and you heat it up, and the heat transforms it from one state to another. So when I taught leadership, my mentor created this assignment called the crucible paper, and I taught it to my students, and I've told some of you this story. And he wanted me to just assign the paper to them. And I said, I can't assign that without doing it myself. I need to write this paper too. So I wrote it, and I gave it to my students before they wrote theirs. And it helped them feel more comfortable being vulnerable with me. I'm going to share my crucible essay with you next month. You don't have to read it. It's long, but you can if you want to. It will help you understand me a little bit better. And so your crucible paper is a paper that asks you what the main element in your life has been: earth, air, fire, water, spirit. And then how has that element shown up for you? Maybe in some patterns over your life. So my whole paper is about fire and how I'm a double fire sign, and I grew up in San Bernardino with fires every summer, you know, and then my parents' restaurant burned down when I was in high school. And how I've burned through relationships, and how I've had to learn to manage. When I was young, I was kind of a fiery, feisty, you know, like kind of sometimes angry chick. And I had to really learn how to work with the fire element, because there was just so much around me and so much in me, and I didn't have any mentors for that. Now I have mentors, right? So I understand, you know, grandfather fire, tata fuego, right? And how do we work with the fire lines and all of these things. And I'll be teaching you more of this year. So in February, I will share my crucible paper with you. And what I'm going to ask is that you write the paper before the end of the year. So I'm giving you 10.5 months to write it. And I'm going to teach it to you the exact same way I taught it to my students, which is you can write 1 page or you can write 100 pages. And it doesn't matter. I will be reading as much as I can of whatever you guys post and share. So I will post it in the classroom page and in the group too, so that you can read it. So anyway, it is about how the elements have shown up in your life and helped to mold you and form you into the person that you are today. So it can be 1 page or 100 pages. I think mine is 15 pages, something like that. I can't remember. Here's the thing. I had a lot of students at the time say, I'm only writing 1 page. And I was like, okay, I'm not asking you to write. You can write half a page, right? I didn't care how much they wrote. Those students are the ones who wrote 30 pages. Because they were like, Athena, I started writing this thing, and then I couldn't stop. And then I kept going. And then there was more. And then when I was done with the more, there was more. And they ended up writing. One student turned it into a memoir, which I think is absolutely amazing, because it kept building and kept building and kept building, and it just became this really important work for this particular student. Other students did write 1 page and moved on with their life. They're like, oh, this is, the element of water has been around me all my life. I was born near a lake. I'm a Pisces. I like to dream. I also enjoy alcohol. The end. I mean, you really could do it that simply. I really want you to focus on one element, Jamie. And there's a reason. Because each one of us has some kind of innate, powerful relationship with one primary element. We're all of the elements. But each one of us has done a sacred dance with one in particular. And this paper is about helping you come to awareness of which one it is for you. I know. Some students didn't enjoy it. Others, like I said, were like, I'm not going to do this. And then they were like, oh my God, I can't stop doing this. Is that your paper, Alexis? That's why I love you. Yeah, so it forces you to acknowledge, because we all have a primary elemental relationship, and it forces you to kind of explore what that is and tease out the nuances of that. And ooh, I like it. So anyway, more on that to come. I will prepare the paper to share with you guys, though, in the next couple of weeks, just to kind of get your motor running. If you decide you don't want to do it, it's okay. It's not like you can't graduate from the program if you don't do the paper. I am never going to force you to do anything. Never. It's not who I am as a person, and it's definitely not who I am as a teacher. So if you say, you know what, Athena, it's too much for me, I don't like to write, can I just not do this? I will be like, yes, you can absolutely not do this. So Heidi, what I recommend doing is let the element choose you. Ask your spirit guides, go into meditation. Turn on your drumming app for 15 minutes and ask your spirit guides to show you which element is your primary element. And then start writing. Or start writing and see what comes. This is a paper that writes itself. This is something that tends to want to come through people. So hopefully you're excited about it. Yeah. You can use spirit as an element too, Rebecca. So if you don't want to do earth, air, fire, or water, but you want to do spirit, I'm totally fine with that. How has spirit showed up in your life? And always been, and had these sort of like, when you think about the element, you'll know you have the right one when you can see all of these different times and moments when it emerged and became present for you, right? And so when you start thinking about it, you're going to start to realize, you know what? I grew up where there's hurricanes, I had asthma, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're like, God, I think air is my element. Or like me, you grew up around brush fires, your parents' restaurant burns down, you're a double fire sign, you have an anger management problem when you're little, like maybe fire's my element. Or, like I mentioned with water, or, I'm always the one who anchors everybody's energy. I've always lived, in the mountains. I've always been around trees. I grew up in the woods or whatever. You start to realize earth is your element. So try to let it be organic, and just like EA says, water keeps popping up. So probably water is your thing. And I would say don't second guess it. When you start to get a hit about like, I think it's water, follow that. Don't second guess it and like, but can it be fire? You know what I mean? Enjoy it. Yeah, enjoy it. enjoy you. So thank you for being here tonight. So I'm going to sign off. Mwah. Let me tell you about next week. Well, I look at my calendar really quickly because I live in the moment, but I do need to tell you what's going on. So this weekend, you won't see too much of me and Alexis, but that's because we are resting a little bit ahead of next week. So Monday at 3 p.m., I'm going to be live with my friend Jose from Brazil, who's going to teach you about Brazilian stones and get you really excited about all things Brazil. And then I have your in bulk ritual from 6 to 7 p.m. on YouTube. Tuesday, we have the Tucson edition of SGTV, me and Dave, right here from 3 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, I'm taking the day to write because I have to finish my book proposal by the end of the day on Wednesday, so that's got to get done. And then Thursday, I'm live at 4 p.m. with Diego from Mexico for my Mexican interview, 4 p.m. Pacific time, if you want to know these things or not. At 7 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, I'm going to be live just with Soul Shift and Crystal Masters, taking you behind the scenes in my crystal room here, teaching you and telling you all the stories of my favorite pieces of Tucson from over the years. Friday, I'm live with Momo of Mercurius Designs from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. I know. Saturday, I'm live with Diego from Mexico from 4 to 5 p.m. And then Sunday, I'm live with Shram, live from India from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. So it's mostly interviews, but they're live interviews. And I kind of did pre-interviews with everybody this week, so I have a sense of what we're going to be talking about. So our first class for Soul Shift in February is Wednesday the 13th. Wednesday the 10th is session 1. And then session 2, well, you have your whole schedule coming, but our first class is on the 10th. Our second class, Crystal Masters, is on the 17th. And then our third class is on the 24th, and our fourth class is on the 25th. And then we have the full moon on the 26th. That is your February at a glance. So I couldn't be more excited. These interviews are going to be amazing. These are all my favorite humans. I chose them because I love them and because I've practically lived with these people. I've traveled with these people. I've broken bread with these people. These are people I love, right? So it's really cool. I mean, Momo's been here and lived in my house for a bit when he was between Tucson and going back home to Bali, so he stayed here with me for a couple days. And Diego's been here, and I spent almost 10 days with Diego, traveling all through Mexico, from Mexico City all the way down to Oaxaca and back. So anyway, and I love these people, and you're gonna love them too. So the lives are all going to be on Facebook, and then they'll be recorded, right? So you'll be able to watch them later if you miss them. It's gonna be really fun. So cheers, have a great weekend. We love you so much. We're super grateful for you. And I will see you Monday. And remember to check Monday for the Ostara set if you would like one. It's really super cool. And I'm excited for you to see it even if you don't buy one. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for being here. You made it. Through a whole month of Soul Shift. The best is yet to come.